Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show podcast. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. For those of you watching live, sorry, we're starting a couple minutes late. I had to go around the house, make sure my neighbors weren't trying to eat my pets. Over here, I got Ray Ora,
hey,
Jonathan Voico.
They were.
Chris Carr.
Your neighbor's Alf? It's the only possible way.
Wow, more than half our audience is like, what's that reference?
I've alienated everyone.
Who's Alf? And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a whole bunch of predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, comment, question, observation, or theory that you'd like us to talk about, as long as we deem it appropriate for us to talk about on our show, go ahead and drop it into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. Send it on in. And here's the good news about the tip link is it's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even if you're watching the John Campea Show later on in the day when it's not being streamed live, you can still send in a question and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today. So let's not waste any time and get right into it with this. There is finally a He-Man Masters of the Universe live action movie coming. The dude from that Anne Hathaway, I can never remember his name.
Nicholas Gatz? Is that his name?
Gatzetsis, whatever his name is.
Like
I've
that?
never known how to pronounce it. But the dude from the Anne Hathaway rom-com that was on streaming there, he's actually really good in it.
He's a fabulous actor.
And then they got the girl from Riverdale to be, what they say, Tila? That was pretty exciting. And Dave Franco's wife, Alison Brie.
Oh, yeah, Alison Brie. Yeah.
They cast her.
Evelyn.
And as Evelyn. So I'm getting kind of excited about this. Maybe this thing will actually happen. Well, anyway, the big question we asked the last time we talked about this show, about this movie, was, yeah, but who are they going to get to play Skeletor? Well, according to a report, Academy Award winner Jared Leto has apparently been offered the role of Skeletor. This comes to us from CBR, who writes, Masters of the Universe may have found its Skeletor. The cast for the upcoming reboot of the beloved Mattel franchise continues to come together, with an Oscar winner now being eyed for the main villain role. According to the Insider, Amazon has offered Jared Leto the role of Skeletor in Masters of the Universe, the main antagonist of the Masters of the Universe franchise. Skeletor is usually depicted as a skull-faced, blue-skinned sorcerer who's determined to discover the secrets of Castle Grayskull, as he believes this will allow him to conquer not only Eternia, but the entire universe as well. Of course, Frank Langella played it back in the Dolph Lundgren version of it. I'm not going to listen. That movie's garbage. Totally is.
I'm sure Frank Langella is like, that was my legacy.
But there's a special place in my heart for that movie.
Fair.
There always will be. There'll always be a special place in my heart for that movie. All right. So let's get the standard template out of the way here. This is not being confirmed by the studios. This has not been confirmed by the actor. This has not been confirmed by the director. This is a report coming out. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Let's talk about it here for a second, though. Jared Leto still gets a lot of what I believe undeserved fan hate because of the Suicide Squad movie, a movie that he played the character exactly the way the director wanted it done. And I quite frankly think the biggest problem with that Suicide Squad movie was that there wasn't more Joker and Harley Quinn in it together. That's just me. The guy was absolutely lights out phenomenal in the Dallas Buyers Club, for which he deservingly won an Academy Award. And I think he's just a really solid actor. And yeah, Morbius was horrible, but I mean, come on. You could have put Daniel Day-Lewis in that movie and it wasn't going to salvage it. So let's call a spade a spade. Was Jared Leto the top name at my list for playing Skeletor? No, honestly, not even a name I thought about. But when I think about it, he could actually be a pretty good Skeletor. He wouldn't be bad. So listen, if this turns out, and I am very curious to see how he does in this new Tron movie, a movie I don't even think they should make, but they've made a new Tron movie. For those of you who didn't know, Jared Leto starring in that. I think he's the villain in it, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so to continue to play a villain as Skeletor, for now, mark me down as at least interested. I'm curious. I'd be curious to see how this turns out and what their approach to Skeletor is going to be. Anyway, Chris, on top of your side business, you are a voice acting coach. with your business called Speak Friend.
Speak Friend Studio. Yeah.
People may not know you also run a side thing as the president of the Jared Leto fan club. So I am curious about your take on this report. How would you feel about if Jared Leto were to play Skeletor?
I mean, because he's a method actor, is he going to start running in and out of rooms being like, see you next time? That's what I hope. See, I'm the opposite of you. I don't enjoy him. I don't like him as an actor. I don't like him. I'm not a big fan of what has happened with 30 Seconds to Mars and their weird island situation. I don't enjoy him very much. That being said, he commits to a role. He gives it his all. This just wouldn't be my pick. I think there are much more interesting folks that you could pick out to be this character because he is iconic. I mean, as ridiculous and memeable as he is these days, I just don't envision this with Jared Leto. And part of that is because you typically have really epic voice acting to go with this kind of character. And augmenting his voice is not something I give credence to Jared Leto about. I disagree with a couple of you in this room about, House of Gucci. I thought he was so horrible in that film.
I haven't seen House of Gucci, so you ain't disagreeing with me. I have no.
It's I don't think this is the one for him. But hey, I'm absolutely here to watch him shoot a shot. Give it his all. I just would go a different direction.
In the terms of him being Skeletor being iconic, even my mother-in-law.
Oh,
Ray,
dang.
did you see this?
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Even my mother-in-law, that's Anne, my wife, and Anne and Ray's mom. Even my mother-in-law rocks the Skeletor shirt.
Were they at like a 80s thing? Because she even has a Rubik's Cube in her hand.
That's just Anne in general.
Anne kind of cheats. If you notice very closely, that's
there's only four.
It's a four-sided Rubik's Cube,
four.
which is the perfect size Rubik's Cube for me. Anyway, you know what? I'm curious to see how this. First of all, I'm curious to see how this whole thing's going to turn out. Because I don't know how you really do a Masters of the Universe movie, but I mean, if they can pull it off, they can pull it off. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? If it's true, and that's a giant if, but if this is true and Jared Leto could be our Skeletor, how would you feel about it? Do you have somebody else in mind to play the role? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? Marvel's Infinity Saga, or Multiverse Saga, I should say, the Multiverse Saga, has not been their shining moment. They've definitely had some great things in it, 100%, I totally agree about that. But it is not exactly, I think everybody would agree, not been their highlight. And there are those like me who are just waiting for the Multiverse Saga to finally end. And now, what we all suspected has now been confirmed by Marvel executive Brad Winderbaum, I should say, who has now confirmed that, according to Nerdist, that this is indeed the end of the Multiverse Saga. So this Multiverse Saga won't stretch out as long as the Infinity Saga did, but he said with Secret Wars, it culminates. And it'll be a great send-off. He specifically said, I think that's what Secret Wars is going to be, an amazing culmination to the saga. And understanding that a lot of people haven't really loved the Multiverse Saga, he finishes by saying, I think it's going to make the journey feel like it was worthwhile. The journey of the Multiverse Saga. And again, I don't want to come across and sound as if I've hated every second of the Multiverse Saga. I haven't. There's been a bunch of stuff in it that I've liked. A couple of things I've loved. But also more things than I'm used to that I have not been so hot on. And it seems like Winderbaum understands that a lot of people feel that way when he says, I think Secret Wars is going to make the journey feel like it was worth it. Now, and as much as I hate multiverse stuff, there are times when it's used well, right? There absolutely are times that it's used well. And I absolutely believe that with the foundation of the Secret Wars story, and then however they adapt it, even though it's multiverse, very multiverse, there's a way to go out with an absolute bang. They can absolutely kill it. It is, after all, the Russo brothers working with Kevin Feige again. When Kevin Feige and the Russos work together, magic happens. Just does. And so I'm not surprised to hear that the Multiverse Saga is ending with Secret Wars. But, it's kind of like what's a good way to put this? No, that's not the right way to put that, and that'll get me canceled. So let me just say, let's just say,
Proud of you for using that filter.
yes,
Look at you.
see, I got that filter between the brain and the mouth sometimes. Even though it's something you suspected and you thought, you're still really. I'll give you a good example. The other night, like 2 nights ago, one of our dogs, Shadow, was sitting in my lap, and I noticed a giant lump on the side of her neck. And it was like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't there yesterday. But you never know, right? And so we were like, okay, let's give it a day or two, see if it just kind of goes away. And sure enough, it's gone. It's gone, disappeared, right? I suspected it would probably be gone in a day or two because it came in so fast. And then it just disappeared.
Swollen lymph node.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But still, even though that's what I thought it was, when I felt her neck and realized the lump was gone, it was still a huge relief. So while I suspected that Secret Wars would be the end of the Multiverse saga, I am still nonetheless relieved. And hopefully they will bring that magic and they will make the journey worthwhile. And I think it's the right call. And then it's going to be really interesting to see what I am predicting. Mark this down. On September 11th, 2024.
Okay, marking it down.
In a couple of years,
Yeah, marking.
we are going to hear Kevin Feige announce the Mutant Saga.
Okay. Marked it.
That's going to be the next saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But anyway, Chris, you heard what Brand Winterbaum said, saying this will be the culmination of it. Hopefully, it's going to make the journey to get here worthwhile. What do you think about that?
I mean, my first reaction was, "Oh, Campea is going to be real happy today." I was wondering how today was going to go. Post debate, post this information. It's a good day here in the studio. So I think this makes a lot of sense, especially because Secret Wars kind of is the culmination of this, right? It'd be the same thing of you do Crisis on Infinite Earths, but then you still have multiple Earths. That's kind of how this feels, right? It's the natural conclusion of having all these variants and all these other characters come into play. And I think it's absolutely the right move too, because we need to focus on who is in this universe now, who is on the lunchbox.
Yeah.
And having variants and having other people come back, jury's still out on how that's going to go. Can't make full judgment until we see how Doom goes, how all these other things go. But we need to have a new cast of characters that everyone can get behind. And you need to just really ground them in this universe and have them be the tentpole people. So having variants, having different universes, that sort of thing, it's run its natural course, and this makes absolute sense to me.
Now, the culmination of the storyline in Secret Wars, but I guess part of me was still worried about that. Even if you have Secret Wars, if they wanted to, they could continue to use multiverse stuff moving on. But I feel like when Marvel was firing on all cylinders, and they have done multiverse stuff in the MCU that has worked. Some that hasn't, some that has. But I feel like Marvel was at its best when it was at its most grounded, right? When it's Iron Man in the world, when it's Captain America coming out of his deep freeze in the world, when it's Thor being banished to Earth. Don't get me wrong, I love the galactic level stuff, Thor Ragnarok and all. Yeah, I do that too, but I just feel like comic book movies work their best. I've been saying this phrase for years. When the model of the movies are the fantastical within the mundane, right? When it's the fantastical within the mundane, it feels like we as the audience are having the experience with it. And I've just always felt like their multiverse stuff has gone a little bit too inside baseball. It's gone a little bit because Marvel's always been this perfect balance between the average film goer and the geek, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the multiverse saga has really started to sway this way. And it would be nice to bring it back so it's a nice mix again for the average film fan and for the comic book movie fan.
Yeah, we lean very much in the fantastical right now. And Marvel operates best when they are grounded humanistic stories that happen to have super stakes.
Yeah, and super characters within them. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Brad Winterbaum is saying that Secret Wars is going to be the culmination and wrapping up the multiverse saga. I'm super thrilled about it, although I still think they can make this a fantastic movie if they do it right. I'm just happy they're going to move past it. Or do you think they're going to move past it? Do you think they'll just keep going on using scapegoat cop-out stuff like multiverse things moving on? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to the television screen here for a second, shall we? I think it's next week. Correct me if I'm wrong. Penguin. I think next week
Whoa, really?
debuts on HBO Max. I might be off by a little bit. But
September 19th.
September
Oh my
19th.
gosh,
So
that's
8
so exciting.
days.
I didn't realize in my head, it's always been far off.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
always feels like it's months away,
yeah,
right?
it's going to be like October or November.
8 days from today.
8 days a week.
Penguin comes out. I have been so excited for this show. Colin Farrell, first of all, I think he's a horribly underrated actor, but he so killed that role in the Batman, and the trailers and the previews for Penguin, like it's literally taking a Godfather story and dropping it into the DC universe. I love it. I cannot wait to sink my teeth into this. I'm so excited for it. And if successful, can't wait for season 2. But somebody who doesn't sound all that enthusiastic about maybe doing a season 2 is Colin Farrell. Apparently, even though he loves the show, he had a bit of a miserable time making the show. Mainly because of the prosthetics. This comes to us from the folks over at Total Film who wrote this. Colin Farrell said, "Don't get me wrong. I loved it, but it got in on me a little bit. By the end of it, I was bitching and moaning to anyone who would listen to me that I fucking wanted it to be finished. I tried to remind them that I had a grumpy attitude. I was still grateful and still honored. I grew up watching Burgess Meredith, who played the role in the 1960s TV Batman series, and then Danny DeVito in Tim Burton's 1992 Batman Returns was my Penguin. So being a part of the lineage of that storytelling, I really feel privileged. But by the end of it, he practically turns purple at the memory. It's not like I didn't know who I was and I was going out and burning cars and shit. But if you take what Matt Reeves created and then what Lauren LaFranc, the showrunner, did and what Mike Mariano, prosthetics and makeup designer, did and put them all together, it was a really powerful experience. So he just goes on and says, look, if I could find a way that makes sense, would you talk about it? And I said, absolutely. Maybe in a year I would, but it's finished. Like I never want to put that fucking suit on again. I just never want to put it on again. So, and you know what's funny? We've heard this again recently. Who was it? I think, who was the guy that played Juggernaut? The English soccer player turned actor.
Oh, Vinny.
Yeah, Vin Jones. Vinny Jones, right? Was that his name, Vinny Jones?
Yep.
Anyway, so he recently talked about how he didn't want to come back for Deadpool and Wolverine because he didn't want to have to go through the process of putting on that bodysuit. I think sometimes we underestimate just how much of a process it is and the hours and hours of sitting there in a chair and like being covered in all this stuff. And if you have to do that every single day for like 4 or 5 months, I can kind of get, and because especially when you look at Colin Farrell in that suit, he's still unrecognizable. It's completely unrecognizable. So I can only imagine how much time and effort has to go into doing that every single day. And then at the end of the day, having to get out of it and all that kind of stuff. So I can understand him saying by the end of it, I just never wanted to put that suit on again. Do I think he's serious about not wanting to come back to play in a season 2? And by the way, he never says the words, I don't want to come back for season 2. He just said, I don't know, man. I think if this show is as good as it looks, and if it gets the response I think it's going to get, and let's even say get some Emmy attention.
Yep.
Which, remember, it is an HBO show. They tend to win a lot of Emmys. I think we'll see without much problem him getting back in the chair to do it again. And I certainly hope that he does. But I really, look, if you got the kind of money that Colin Farrell has, I get it. If you don't want to do that anymore, but I think he will. Chris, you heard him talk about this. Now you primarily have done voice acting. Have you ever had to like go through any sort of makeup stuff in doing roles and everything? And
I have.
How painful can that be?
It's not fun, honestly. Some people are really zen about it and they can be very meditative about it, especially getting your face cast. That is the part that always freaks me out the most, when they have to actually mold you and you have straws coming out of your nose so you can breathe. I only had to do this for an eHarmony commercial, and honestly, mine were just to age me up. And so it was little pieces that they built on throughout the day, including ones on my hands in case my hands went up in front of the camera. So I would have old lady fingers because I had to go from 25 to, I think they aged me up to 95. It was a weird one, but it is not a very fun process. And it also is not very kind to your skin, all that glue and all of that. And his are very extensive. We've made the joke so many times on here that he just looks like mean Richard Kind. He just looks like a really angry
He does
Richard
look like
Kind.
Richard Kind.
And it is a process. This is going to take hours and hours. Mine of just getting aged up and putting on wigs and all of that stuff took 2.5 hours for what ended up being a 2-minute commercial for me going from thing to thing. And that was with 2 makeup artists on me. My friend Kim, she is an incredible makeup artist who's done a bunch of stuff for, Doctor Strange. She was one of the keys on Multiverse of Madness. All of those prosthetics take hours, and it is not a particularly fun experience. So I can understand why somebody would say, this is a lot. This is a lot for me to do, and then act on top of that, and act in a dialect, and move around, and have all that extra weight that you're carrying and all of that stuff. So I get it, but I think Colin Farrell is chasing some awards. He is an Academy Award nominee. He has won a Golden Globe. I think he also has that, let me get some accolades. Because to your point, I do think people have underestimated him for years. I think he's somebody who's been kind of glossed over, and we're seeing this really great kind of renaissance for him. I know people say that a lot about like the Fraser-sance and, all those things, the Stone-a-sance of anytime an actor's doing well. But he really, in the last few years, has revved up his career to be a very sought-after, prolific actor. And I feel like this is another show that can cement him as being one to watch. So I think it really comes down to how audiences and critics and award nominations are going to go after season 1. That'll determine if he comes back.
By the way, there's a movie that he should not only have been nominated, that I think he should have won an Academy Award for. It was about 10 years ago. Remember Saving Mr. Banks? Mm-hmm. The problem for him was the 2 leads of that movie were Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson. So they got, obviously, all the attention. But if you haven't seen Saving Mr. Banks, and you want to know just, sometimes people would ask me, hey, if I wanted to see just how good Ryan Reynolds can be as an actor, what should I watch? I say Buried. Go watch Buried. If people were to ask me, if I want to really get a sense of how good of a pure actor Colin Farrell is, I will say, watch Saving Mr. Banks. It's a supporting role, but I think he should have won an Academy Award for it. And I think you're right, Chris. I think if the accolades start coming in and Emmy whispers start going around about it, we could see him signing up for season 2 pretty quick. Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, Colin Farrell is amazing as the Penguin, but he's saying, look, the process to get in this, I think I read somewhere was like 4.5 to 5 hours a day to get into this makeup. Crazy. Do you think he'll be back? Are you looking forward to the series? I personally cannot wait. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still have a bunch of things to talk about, including Josh Brolin has turned down the role of Green Lantern in the DC Universe. Also, the Rings of Power Season 2, the ratings started off pretty rough, but they are climbing because it's a lot better than Season 1 was. And Lucasfilm is getting sued for using the digital likeness of Peter Cushing in Rogue One. Is anything actually going to happen with that, though? We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. As I reach over here, our friends at Mando and Manscaped. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mando. Guys, I've got to tell you about something that changed my whole body care game. Mando Whole Body Deodorant. Now, I first heard about Mando last year when they offered to become a sponsor of the show, and I was honestly skeptical. I mean, a deodorant can't really control odor for 72 hours, can it? But after using it myself, I am a believer. You can use it anywhere on your body, and I mean anywhere. It's clinically proven to keep you smelling fresh for up to 72 hours without any irritation. I'm loving the clover wood scent, but they've got options like bourbon leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and even unscented if you prefer to go stealth mode. I like to use it after the shower, before the gym, or even important meetings. It's that reliable. And right now, Mando's got a killer deal. New customers get $5 off their best-selling starter pack with my exclusive code Campea. That's over 40% off. Just go to shopmando, that's shopmando.com, and use the code Campea. Seriously, guys, if you want a deodorant that's aluminum-free, baking soda-free, and just works better than anything else you've tried, it's time to make the switch to Mando. So don't wait. Control body odor anywhere with Mando. Head over to shopmando.com and use the code Campea and get $5 off your starter pack. Trust me, you're going to love it. That's at shopmando.com. Go and check it out now. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Today, I am thrilled to unveil the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in forged gold. Welcome to the golden era of grooming where precision, luxury, and performance meet. In a world where grooming tools come and go, Manscaped is setting the gold standard with this special edition trimmer. If you want to make your grooming routine a statement of sophistication and style, this is the tool that you need. Just a quick PSA though, there are limited quantities available in this color, so you gotta act fast if you want this. Listen, guys, I know that there are still a lot of you who are trying to do personal grooming the old archaic way like I used to do, using the stupid trimmer on your electric razor or some other archaic tools. Look, if you're gonna do it that way, just rename yourself the Butcher of Balltown. It is time to step into the golden era with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Gold. You too can experience unparalleled precision with the next-gen dual skin-safe blade heads, one trimmer blade and one foil blade designed for flawless performance. It's time to join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped for all their grooming needs and get the special edition Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in forged gold while supplies last. So get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped and Mando for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, a few days ago, maybe it was last week, a report came out that Josh Brolin had been offered the role of Green Lantern in the upcoming HBO series. Now, there was no official confirmation of that, but apparently that report that we all found out about from Jeff Schneider, who himself got it from Nexus Point News, it was real. It was true. He really was offered it. It was indeed a fact. But according to the Hollywood Reporter, Josh Brolin has turned down the role of Green Lantern. This comes us from the Hollywood Reporter, who say the following. Josh Brolin will not be wearing the ring after all. The actor has passed on an offer to star in Lanterns, the DC Studios series based on the Green Lantern superhero character, sources tell the Hollywood Reporter. Brolin was eyed to play Hal Jordan, the cocky Green Lantern hero previously played by Ryan Reynolds in the ill-fated 2011, that was 13 years ago, ill-fated 2011 Green Lantern movie. According to multiple sources, the actor received it on offer at the end of August. By the end of this past weekend, his mind was made up. No other details were available. All right. So now we know that story was indeed true. He was, in fact, offered that role, which I think is interesting. And it tells us a couple of things that, you know, because we said when we heard the rumor that Josh Brolin was offered the role, we thought, well, I think that tells us that they're looking at an experienced, older, war-weary, been through the battles, maybe a little more grizzled Hal Jordan than the one we traditionally get, and that the other Green Lanterns, whether you're talking about John Stewart or Kyle Rayner or Guy Gardner or whatever, might be a little bit younger, although we know Guy Gardner is being played by a 50-plus-year-old actor, so not so much younger there. But he turned it down. And you know what? Finding out now that the story was actually true, I'm not surprised he turned it down. I mean, if you're Josh Brolin, hopefully you're looking at doing another Goonies movie pretty soon. But besides that, you've already played, 3 or 4 comic book characters?
Yeah.
He was Thanos.
Cable.
He was Cable. He was, what's the cowboy one? He did it.
Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex. Yeah, nobody likes to remember Jonah Hex. He was Jonah Hex. And wasn't he another one recently too? I thought there might have been another. Anyway, so there's 3 already that he's already done. Does he actually want to do another one, or does he want to do other things? And so I kind of get it. I get it. He's been there. He's done that. It's time to move on. But here's where it gets interesting to me. Who then, now knowing that we want a slightly older Hal Jordan, remember, Josh Brolin is not in his 60s or anything like that. So not that much older, but if we had to now look, we understand they want a slightly older Hal Jordan, a little more experienced Hal Jordan. If it ain't going to be Josh Brolin, who could it be? I have 2 people in mind. One, somebody in the live chat also just put in there. And no, it's not Ray Ora.
Yeah.
Chris Pine. Because Chris Pine, a lot of Hollywood actors don't let themselves age. He's letting himself age, but he looks great. Chris Pine, who I think is a tremendous actor. He can do drama. He can do thriller. He can do comedy. I mean, he can do a lot. I think Chris Pine would absolutely, if you were going for that more experienced, more grizzled kind of Hal Jordan, I think you could do a lot worse than Chris Pine. Caleb is also saying Paul Walter Hauser. No. Par for the course.
Jenna Ortega.
By the way, speaking of Paul Walter Hauser, remember like 3 months ago, we did a story about Paul Walter Hauser was cast to be in that real movie, that biopic about the guy who was on the game show?
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie's out now. That movie just debuted at a film festival. He got cast like 3 months ago. It's now playing in film festivals. Anyway, let's get back to the thing. So my first pick, Chris Pine. The other name I would want to throw out there,
Yeah.
and I really want you to think about this. Academy Award winner, Matthew McConaughey. Now, as much as McConaughey may have become a little bit of a meme in and of himself, the reality is he's an awesome actor. Like when you give him the right role, he is an awesome actor. Obviously, Dallas Buyers Club, for which he won an Academy Award. But I mean, forget the TV show, the movie, Lincoln Lawyer. He's great in that. I loved him in Lincoln Lawyer. I really think he's a tremendous performer, and I think he's still got a great physique. He doesn't have the same physique he had 15 years ago, but he's got a great physique. He looks great. He's a terrific actor. He's in that thing. Eric in the live chat just gave another really good name, Liev Schreiber. Liev Schreiber would also be a pretty, if you want to go for, but Liev comes a little across as having never been jovial and never been lighthearted and never been wisecracking. Liev Schreiber comes across as he's been dead serious ever since he was 4. Like, so that's the one thing I don't know. I would go with Liev Schreiber on that. But
Someone even mentioned in the chat Josh Hartnett, which I could see too. Because he's older. I mean, we think of him as young,
but still a little baby-faced. If you want to go for that more, if you want to go for that more war vet kind of
like
look,
in Oppenheimer, they aged him up though. They could age him up.
They
I mean,
did,
aged up, but still baby-faced. You know what I mean? I don't know if I could see that. I mean, tremendous actor, a lot of great roles I could see him playing, but maybe not that one.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Do you have any thoughts, Chris?
I like Chris Pine. I think that's a good one. Someone else in the chat put down Timothy Olyphant.
Oh, yes.
I think
100
he'd be
yeses
excellent.
to that.
And then I've got kind of a weird pick, but follow me on this journey. Viggo Mortensen.
That's not weird.
If he'd be, I mean,
Especially
that dude's class. But if he was willing to do that,
if they also went, and I know you think they won't, but if they went parallax, Viggo Mortensen.
Okay, here's my one problem.
Goggins.
no, you know what? What's
Honestly,
funny?
let Walton Goggins do any role.
I was thinking that too.
Walton Goggins is not a bad pick at all.
When you think of him in Fallout, but he's like still the debonair actor, the flashbacks.
Yep.
Come on.
Oh yeah.
Now, the thing about Viggo is he is 65.
Yes.
Well, Blade is also 65.
But Blade is also 65. But I mean, hell of an actor. I could see it. You like, if you could get a Viggo Mortensen, you say, okay, this Hal's gonna be a little bit older than we initially planned. I still think that's fine. I still think you go with that. So I think there's a lot of, you know what? Brandon in the live chat just gave a good name too. I love this one actually. John Hamm.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he could bring the snark too.
I don't like that one quite as much as Chris Pine, but John Hamm is a nice pick.
You know who would have been great, and unfortunately, I just had to bring his name up because I love the guy so much. It's Val Kilmer.
I know.
He was
He
still,
would have been
yes.
it would have been that smile, that sort of, cockiness. He would have been a great mold for that great Hal Jordan at least.
Yeah, he would have been great for that too. So yeah, a lot of good people in there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Josh Brolin was indeed offered that role and he has turned it down. So that kind of opens it up. Who could you see playing an older, more experienced Hal Jordan in the upcoming HBO series Lanterns? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this. I finally got around to watching the 4th episode of Rings of Power Season 2 yesterday.
Another seal has been opened.
Best one of the season so far, I think. I think it was the best episode of the season so far. Now, look, everybody knows we've talked about this a lot lately. I was incredibly disappointed with season 1. It had its moments, even had an episode or two here or there that I enjoyed. But overall, I was tremendously disappointed by the series. So much so that I wasn't even excited about season 2. I watched the first 3 episodes. You guys have heard me say this. While I was not ready to say, I think this is a good show now, I definitely thought it was an improvement. It's definitely improved. I don't think anybody can deny it's absolutely better than last season was. Question would be, would it continue to get better or would it just decline again? And then I finally saw episode 4 yesterday. You know what? I think it was my favorite episode. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. But if they keep going this way, I might actually say this is a good show. I mean, that's just the way they're going. I love the Tom. Like, growing up, I'm a huge Tom Bombadil fan. I was one of those crybabies that whined a bit when Peter Jackson took Tom Bombadil out for his movies, but whatever, it's fine. I really liked their iteration of Tom Bombadil. Anyway, so there's that. But here's the thing. Like me, who was very disappointed in season 1, a lot of other people were disappointed in season 1, and it showed when it debuted at only half the audience that watched the debut of season 1. 50% drop in viewership for season 2 when it started from season 1. That says a lot. That says there were a lot of people like me who were disappointed in season 1. But if you make something well, you will start to get the audience back. And now, according to the trades, the viewership of season 2 is going up rapidly. This comes to us from Deadline, who says this: The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power season 2 is picking up speed, according to Amazon. In the 11 days since it premiered, the second installment has amassed 40 million viewers, with 4 episodes currently available. Jennifer Salke, head of Amazon MGM Studios, revealed in an internal memo to staff on Tuesdays. It has been number 1 on Prime Video globally and is now one of the streamer's top 5 TV seasons of all time in terms of total viewership through 11 days. According to the memo, tens of millions have also tuned into season 1 since early August, likely in preparation for season's 2 August 29th debut. This is, again, another example of why week-to-week releases is so beneficial. Because if they had dropped this whole thing at once, it just would have lost half its viewership, and that would have been the end of it. But because they dropped, like a lot of shows do now, a couple of episodes into week 1, then wait a week, put out another episode, right? Word of mouth has gotten out, like me, saying, you know what? If you were disappointed in season 1, they've corrected a bunch of the mistakes in season 2. Again, I'm still not willing to say this is a great show now, but it is an absolute improvement. And being better, word of mouth started to get out. And people started going, fine, I'll go check out, I'll give season 2 a shot. And then they played the next episode and the next episode. And listen, if they can keep this trajectory going, and I'm not saying they will, I'm saying if they can keep this trajectory going, this season could end up being something pretty good. Still nowhere near the expectations I had going into season 1, because I was expecting I don't know.
Peter Jackson's.
Yeah,
but more-
I was
yeah.
expecting Emmy level wins every year sort of thing, and that was my own fault,
Same.
admittedly.
I was in the same boat.
But Chris, you were also very disappointed in season 1. You, like me, have been impressed with the improvement in season 2. What do you think about these reports coming out that the viewership is now climbing?
It makes sense because the quality is raising or being raised. I think they've done such a great job, particularly on Tom Bombadil, because in the books, this is a pure folklore character who is left very vague, very ambiguous, and they found such a good way to bring this character in a role of mentorship. And I love that. I love that he's there to kind of usher in the story. I think they're doing great stuff. And also the characters this season are making sense. No, not necessarily sensible
You know what?
choices.
I didn't even think about it that way. That's the perfect way to put it. The characters make sense now.
Their actions are there for a reason.
They have
not
purpose.
just to go, and we want the plot to move this way. You know, Galadriel in particular, and Jonathan, you were talking about this at the beginning of the show too. She is, and I don't want to use the term likable because you don't need someone to like a
She's
character.
less unlikable than she was last season.
She is making choices that seem to make sense for an elf her age.
Yes.
Because that was one of my problems in season 1 was she felt like this very young, naive, and she should be brash elf, but still there were certain things, if you've been around for thousands of years, these seem like very foolhardy choices, not even powered by, you know, your still heartbreak over your brother or things like that, just foolish choices that felt like they were there to further a plot, not something the character would actually do. It felt like a this happens, then this happens, as opposed to a this happens, therefore. You know?
Yes.
And I like that this season is having reactions that make sense, choices that make sense. The Elrond and Galadriel dynamic is so interesting.
So good this year. Yes, it is.
I love that a lot. I just think everyone is making choices that their characters would actually make, not choices that an Amazon showrunner wanted them to for some reason.
The one gripe I still have, I did an open mic last night and this kind of came up. The one gripe I have about this season so far is that the single best thing about season 1 is painfully absent. I need Elrond and Durin together on screen. I need them to find a way to have, because that odd couple was the one truly redeeming thing about season 1. And I just want more of it.
Yeah.
I really, really do. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, a lot of us feel like the new season is definitely improvement over last, and it looks like the numbers are starting to reflect that by climbing higher, now hitting some pretty high peaks. Do you think they can maintain that momentum? Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll find out tomorrow as episode 5 drops, and maybe it'll go right down in the crapper, or maybe it'll continue its ascension. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down, let's move on to this, shall we? Remember back when Rogue One came out and Grand Moff Tarkin made an appearance? Somebody might say, wait a minute, I thought Peter Cushing died. And wouldn't Peter Cushing be 117 years old now? I don't know how old he would be today. But of course, they CG'd the face. They got another actor and then they did some CG magic on his face. And listen, especially at that time, made a very convincing looking Grand Moff Tarkin of that. Okay. That was 8 years ago. Well, now a company owned by Lucasfilm is being sued for using Peter Cushing's digital likeness. This comes to us from CBR, and this gets interesting. Follow along here. Per the Times, Tyburn Film Productions filed a lawsuit against Lunic Heavy Industries, a Disney-owned company. So we're just going to say Disney from now on instead of Lunic Heavy, okay? So Tyburn Film is suing Disney, a sub-company that worked on Rogue One, over their use of Cushing's likeness in the 2016 Star Wars spin-off Rogue One. The company claims it made an agreement with Peter Cushing before his death, preventing the use of his digital likeness with special effects without their, Tyburn's, permission or approval. All right. So this company is saying in their lawsuit that Peter Cushing, we made an agreement with Peter Cushing before he died, that if anybody wants to use his digital likeness through special effects, they got to go through us, right? And it brings up this big topic of conversation the last number of years about using actors' digital likeness. It was a big point of contention in the SAG strike, obviously for good reason.
Because the video game strike, we're still dealing with
video
AI.
game one is huge. All that kind of stuff. Now, a lot of people read that headline, being sued for using Peter Cushing's likeness. Okay, and are instantly getting outraged, saying, "How dare Disney just use the man's image without permission?" Here's where it gets a little bit sticky. You see, Disney did get permission. Here's the thing. Lucasfilm and Lunac Heavy Industries contest, this is Disney. Lucasfilm contests the claim, arguing that they didn't need permission from Lunac to recreate Cushing's image under his original contract for New Hope. Instead, they got permission from Cushing's estate for a fee. The companies tried to have the lawsuit dismissed, but a judge rejected the motion in December 2023. So here's the thing. Under all normal circumstances, if you want to use the name of, or the likeness of, or the recordings of, or the property of somebody who is deceased, you obviously can't get that person's permission. So the standard operating procedure is you get permission from the family or the estate as it goes, right? You go to the estate, which is often the family and the people who have interest, and you get their permission, and maybe you even pay a fee to the estate. Disney did just that. They went to the Cushing family and to the estate. They requested permission to use the digital likeness of Peter Cushing. They negotiated a deal that they would pay a fee to the estate for the rights to use the digital likeness. And they got permission from the family. Along comes Lunac, or not Lunac, what's the name of the company? Tyburn. Along comes Tyburn and says, well, no, you see, actually, we made a deal with Cushing privately that says we should have been the ones to get paid. Now, here's where it gets more tricky. Disney then went to the court and said, can we please have this lawsuit dismissed because we went to the estate and we got permission. We were not made aware by anybody that some deal existed between this Tyburn company and Peter Cushing just before he died. We went through the right process. We got permission. We paid a fee. They want to have it dismissed. Now, the court refused to dismiss the case, but it doesn't sound like it has much chance of winning. CBR continues to write this. As a result, Lucasfilm decided to appeal the decision in a London hearing on July of 2024. However, in a ruling on September 9th, Deputy High Court Judge Tom Mitchison, KC, rejected the appeal and said that the case should go to trial. But the judge acknowledged that while he was far from persuaded that Tyburn Film Productions would win the case, it wasn't at least unarguable and required a full factual inquiry. So basically, the judge said, no, we're not going to dismiss the case. Although I am far from convinced that you can win this, it should at least be brought up and have an inquiry in a court case. So I'm just going to say, before people get too mad at Lucasfilm for, how dare you use somebody's digital image without permission? They did get permission. They paid for the permission. Apparently, they just didn't know that there was some secret last-minute deal before Peter Cushing died between Peter. Even the estate didn't know about it. So it doesn't sound to me like they're going to have a leg to stand on here. If anything, this Tyburn company might have to sue the estate to get the money that Disney paid the estate. But I don't see how Disney's going to be on the hook for this at all. Anyway, Chris, you talked about this. This is such a big issue about studios, especially as technology is progressing, about studios using technology to digitally recreate deceased actors and performers. You pointed out this is very big in an industry you're very heavy in the video game industry as well. When you see this, how does somebody from your perspective look at this situation?
You know, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh my gosh, Disney took advantage of this situation. And then you read all the details. And yes, if you do contact the estate and you go through those channels, you think that you've done your due diligence. So it does feel like this is going to be an issue between the estate and the company in question, not necessarily Disney, because it does feel like they did what they were supposed to do. Also, I just want to reiterate, because the chat was like, why is this happening now? This has been in legal proceedings for years and years and years.
Oftentimes the legal machine moves very, very slowly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just don't get, this information until further down the road, typically. So this has been happening for a while. It's not like they waited all this time and went, you know what? Let's get some money from Rogue One. So there's that. The thing that this makes me excited about, honestly, is it does bring light to people thinking that the AI discussion is over because the strike ended. At least the strike that most people talked about. Most people talked about the TV film strike, writers, actors, that sort of thing, with AI being this big looming thing. A lot of people don't know that SAG-AFTRA then also went and made a deal with Replica Studios for licensing your voice, your likeness, etc. to AI. This was a deal that SAG-AFTRA said they did with affected members weighing in and voting on the situation. Thousands of members came through the woodwork here saying, nope, didn't get contacted. Stephen Bloom, who is a Guinness World holder for voiceover voices, he's got 300 credits, I believe.
Wow.
Was not in this conversation. A whole bunch of people were not in this conversation. And this is the sort of thing why voice actors right now for video games, motion capture performers for video games, are on strike, because all the AI stuff is still a very looming threat, where our own union, to an extent, and this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for every SAG-AFTRA member, is having us sign our own pink slips. So when you see it in somebody iconic like Peter Cushing's role, that foul stench that we should have noticed right when we walked on board, it makes it so I hope other people realize that journeyman actors are struggling with this as well. Deceased actors, their estates and everything are dealing with this. This is an ongoing discussion that wasn't wrapped up neatly just because the strikes ended. We've got one going on right now that luckily 80 different companies have signed on for video games, but AI is still a real big problem. So I'm just hoping this gets more people researching and educating themselves and learning more about the intricacies of how you do sell your voice should your estate want to do that, or your likeness.
Does it sound to you, when we read through the story, did Lucasfilm act inappropriately here from what we understand from the story?
This is one of the few times where I'm going to side with the corporation. Because you know how I feel. You and I have had disagreements too about this, about how everyone's handled things. And I obviously have a vested stake in this because I experience this differently than you experience this, right? But this is one where it feels like Disney and Lucasfilm did their due diligence. And it feels like there are just several steps that, since this is a brave new world, or a potentially terrifying dystopian one that we are entering, that there's so many channels that even the bigwigs aren't sure of what they need to do. And that's why we need to have really clear-cut ways of navigating these murky waters.
Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It sounds like this is going to go to trial, but I don't know what the chances are of it succeeding. Maybe there's other information we still don't know about yet. And again, it just highlights, like Chris was saying, that the issue of digital reproduction and all that kind of stuff is still a very big looming question mark over the entire industry that they haven't fully dealt with yet. Whatever you guys think about this and how you see the situation, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's now time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another moment to thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, the good folks over at BetterHelp. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. Hey guys, it's John here. As kids, we're always learning new things, whether it's how to ride a bike, play an instrument, or even ace that math test. But as adults, it seems like we lose a bit of that natural curiosity. When was the last time you learned something new just for the fun of it? Like new skills, a new language, or maybe just how to finally beat your best friend at that game. Therapy can be a fantastic way to reconnect with that sense of wonder. It's like going back to school, but this time it's for you. It's about learning new coping skills, setting boundaries, and empowering yourself to become the best version of you. And the best part, it's not just for those who have experienced major trauma. It's for anyone looking to grow and learn more about themselves. If you've ever thought about starting therapy, why not give BetterHelp a try? It's completely online, making it super convenient and flexible to fit into your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a quick questionnaire and you'll be matched with a licensed licensed therapist who fits your needs. Plus, if things aren't clicking, you can always switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. Take the first step to being your best self. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
We've got Rev Matt, who says, "Hey, John and crew, this week marks 30 years since Reboot debuted. Canadian production experimenting with early CGI. So much imagination and underrated legacy for TV and visual effects in general."
Reboot was great.
I loved that show.
Did you guys
so
get that
much.
down here?
Yes. Oh. It was so great with Bob and Doc. Come on.
And what was the name of the villain? Megabyte?
Megabyte, yes. And there was Hexadecimal. Yeah.
Today should have been called Terabyte, but
There was a horrible Netflix show that tried to reboot it with live action elements. It was so bad.
really?
Yes, I was so disappointed in it because that show was amazing.
You know what? Here's a true story. Some of you guys may remember
Not true story. There it is.
back when I was first started Jedi Council. It was me, Christian, my buddy Paul Lenz, who worked at Lucasfilm, and a friend of mine named Rodney Brazeau, who used to help me out on the movie blog and stuff like that. Anyway, long story short, a bunch of years ago, my buddy Rodney actually got into negotiations with the rights holder for Reboot to try to get the rights to it. And he had ideas for role-playing games and all this kind of stuff. Never actually came about, but came that close. My buddy came that close to getting the rights to Reboot.
Man.
Reboot. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Ethan, who says, "Hello, John. Greetings from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Roll Tide. I thank you for all that you have done. I always look forward to watching your show every day. I have never been to the West Coast, but hope to make it someday. Any suggestions to where to visit?" Well, lots of places. It's hard to say.
Unless
right?
you love fire, nowhere right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I put up a picture on my social media the other day saying, the mountain by my house has turned into Mordor.
Yeah. Well, I messaged Jonathan on my way home yesterday. I'm like, a bunch of the highway is on fire, so be
I told
careful.
her we do not pass through the forest.
Like our entire
To be
area was
tourist.
surrounded by fires.
You gotta go.
Eternia,
You gotta
baby.
go the way I go.
We live in
I'll show you.
Eternia. Oh man.
It was brutal.
But obviously you got to visit Los Angeles. If you're a movie fan, you got to visit Hollywood. You got to see the Walk of Fame. You got to go stand in front of the Man's Chinese Theater. Go into the Man's
Yeah,
Chinese
I would say
Theater.
see a movie there.
See a movie there. Like it's the most it's the most famous movie theater in the world.
Don't come during the summer
No.
when there's all the crowds. Come when it's quieter. People are friendlier, less crowded. Go up to like Griffith Observatory.
Yeah.
Try to catch something at Hollywood Bowl.
Definitely see a show
Yeah.
at the Hollywood Bowl.
As opposed to just passively seeing something, there's a lot of opportunities to engage with the things that are here. So
Absolutely.
like going, not just seeing the Hollywood, going to the Hollywood Bowl, going to a movie at the Chinese Theater. You know
Going
what I mean?
to a Cinespia showing?
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly. Go-
that's all fun. Don't stay in Hollywood, though. This is
No.
the thing, guys. People think that Hollywood is where everything happens and
Nah.
it's very exciting and glamorous.
Nope.
It's not.
Nope.
It's gross. I can smell the pee. And that's saying something because this is
I can
mostly
smell
for
the
show.
pee from here.
Right?
Yeah.
So
That was
go
me.
check it out, but go stay somewhere else.
Yeah. Just or if you want to look, there's this big hotel right at the corner of Hollywood and Highland. I can't even remember what it's called now, but
The Roosevelt?
no, like
wait,
No, it's on
like
the
the main
corner.
right at the corner of Hollywood, the big main thing.
Yeah.
Everybody parks in the
Oh,
garage
yeah,
underneath
okay.
it. I can't remember what it's got new ownership. I can't remember what it's called. It's a big, huge hotel. It's a great hotel to stay at. If you want to stay there right at Hollywood and Highland, you want to be right there, right where the Oscars are held. But don't hang out there. Like, see the sights and then go see other things.
Man,
Yeah.
if that George Lucas museum opens soon, go to
Yeah,
that.
that's going to be
Go to the
great.
Academy Museum.
Academy
too.
Museum.
Oh, it's so fun.
Do you know our buddy Soul?
Mm-hmm.
His girlfriend Jenny is the curator of the Hollywood Museum.
Oh.
Yeah, she works with Steven Spielberg and who just directed Beetlejuice again?
Tim Burton?
Tim Burton. She was actually our friend Jenny, who we just went to Vegas with. She was Tim Burton's personal guest at his Walk of Fame star induction thing, and she travels around the world to get pieces for the museum. She's got a very cool job.
Incredible. The John Waters exhibit and everything they did. Oh
Yep.
my gosh, there's so much cool stuff there.
Also, if this is for like family time, so you guys could get closer, maybe take the 101 in the 405.
Yeah, just so you can spend hours
It's
together.
an
every
hour
day.
quality
All right.
time.
So
Yeah.
you can.
All
you can
right, we
track
got to
it.
move on. We're running out of time here. What's next?
All right, Drew says, when I was in 5th grade, I'm 18 now, my teacher showed my class a video of James Earl Jones reading a book. It wasn't the fact that I was closing my eyes and listening to Darth Vader and Mufasa read to me that stuck with me. What stuck with me was that he said he was a stutterer.
Yes, when he was young, he had a bad stutter.
I have had a stutter my entire life. It comes and goes in waves of severity, but it has always been there. I used to be afraid to talk in class. I was afraid that I would be bullied. But watching that video, seeing that the most iconic voice in all of cinema had a stutter also, that changed me. It gave me the courage to start talking more in class. It gave me the courage to create my own podcast and talk show. Number 404. It's not hyperbole to say that James Earl Jones not only changed my life, he saved it. I would not be the person I am today without him. Rest in peace to a true king.
Yeah, again, I mean, the passing of James Earl Jones doesn't cause the sadness in me like it did for like a Carrie Fisher or Robin Williams, but because he lived to 93. I mean, he lived a full, rich, truly meaningful life, and he touched lives with his life, and his work will continue to touch lives forever. Right. But that is really one of the great inspirational stories, that this most iconic voice, possibly in Hollywood history, started off with a lot of struggles with a really bad stutter. The president had the same thing. The president, when he was a kid, had a really, really bad stutter as well. I mean, so it's really inspiring to see stuff like that. And I'm glad it inspired you. Thank you for sharing that.
If only he could have done a movie with Morgan Freeman. Oh
my God.
Just hear them talk back and forth. Hi, Anorak the All-Knowing says, hi, John and crew. So excited for Avengers Doomsday. Currently finishing my Doctor Doom cosplay for my first ever LA Comic-Con.
Nice.
Also, I was wondering if you're having a booth, would love to stop by and say thank you for bringing laughter and fun moments.
I thought about getting a booth for the John Campea Show at the LA Comic-Con, but we were never able to find out how to do it or how much it would cost. So, nope, we're not doing it because we never could get any information. I emailed somebody about it, and they just never got back to me.
They're like, go away.
Oh, that's October 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah. No, doesn't look like, I mean, I'm sure Anne loves going to these things, so I'm sure we will be there for a day. I'm not sure which day or whatever. I'm sure we're going to go down and walk around for an hour or two, but unfortunately, no, we will not be having a booth there this year.
Just say you have a booth and go stand by somebody's booth with that number.
Stand by somebody's booth.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Our booth is outside.
Yeah. Vatzel says, hey, John and crew, can we get one John Campea Show Hot Takes edition with Chris and Aaron? I understand Aaron's occupied elsewhere. She's like on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
But I'd like to implore the show's audience to restore the OGC Campea-verse.
Well, the OGC
Aaron?
Campea-verse
Is that her couple name?
goes back way before them. So,
Yeah.
OG Campea-verse, not OGC
Chris,
Campea-verse.
no, see, Aaron is not busy, although she is. She's a working actress. They now have her and Tom now have 2 kids.
Yeah.
She lives in New York.
Yeah.
Like, she's way far away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that probably won't happen. But
Which is a shame because I miss her. She sends
Yeah.
me really cute memes still.
yeah, and she's still doing great stuff.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Orange Hand says, did you know every Jekyll and Hyde adaptation misunderstands the story? Jekyll made a potion to alter his appearance so he could act out his depraved urges without besmirching his name. Hyde is just a disguise, not a separate personality created by accident. I didn't know that. I'd have to look into that.
I've never read the original Jekyll and Hyde. You know, I mean, I think I've heard that before, that like his motivation behind creating the elixir was something along those lines. But I mean, the interpretation is in the eye of the beholder. But I've never read the original, so maybe I should at some point. All right, what's next?
Your Orlando Informer is here. On Sunday, I was missing my dad, and anytime I'm missing him, I put on Field of Dreams. Hey, Dad, can we have a catch scene? I cry every time. When I heard James Earl Jones passing, I put on his baseball speech from the same movie and cried again.
There was baseball.
There was baseball.
Oh. Again, I said this the other day, but I'll say it again. One of the great things about James Earl Jones was that while he was Vader, he was in so many other iconic things too, like The Voice of Mufasa, Field of Dreams, Sandlot, Conan the Barbarian. Like he was such a well-rounded performer. Like EGOT winner, Tony winner, like multiple Emmy, like all that kind of stuff. He's just so much more than just Vader. That's what really made him special. All right, what's next?
Deadpool says, when you say Dune 2 is the best film in 10 years, what 2014 film are you referring to that is equal to or better?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It doesn't have to be 2014.
I just remember going back over the past 10 years saying, yep, there was no film that I liked better in the last 10.
And it doesn't have to be 2014 because there could have been another. It
could have been 13, could have been 12, could have been 10. Yeah,
14.
I just generally throw it out there. I think it's the best film I've seen in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best film I've seen in a decade. So, I mean, I might have to go back to King's Speech. Maybe the King's Speech. I mean, that movie's so fucking good. I might have to go back to King's Speech, to a movie that I liked better than Dune 2. But yeah, I think Dune 2 is the best film I've seen in the last 10 years. All right, what's next?
Also, John says, John, if I read the box office right, Deadpool and Wolverine is about 50 million away from breaking the top 20 highest grossing movies. I know it's not as sexy as a number as top 10, but come on, that's insane for an R-rated movie. I think it could still make it. I don't know about 50 million.
Remember, only 2, including Deadpool and Wolverine, there's only been 2 R-rated movies in history to clear the $1 billion mark.
Mm-hmm.
Joker and now Deadpool and Wolverine. None other did. For it to climb into the top 20, which I don't think it will, but just the fact that it's even in the top 30 as an R-rated film, it's crazy, because what's it at now? Like 1 point, it's getting close to 1.3, isn't it?
It's at 1287.
1287. So it's probably going to hit $1.3 billion. When only one other R-rated film ever has even crossed the $1 billion mark. It's crazy. It's impossible to overstate how big of a success story Deadpool and Wolverine is. Like, it just really is impossible to overstate it. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Inflation says, wife and I watched
Inflation.
Wife and I watched The Perfect Couple with Schreiber and Kidman on Netflix over the weekend. Utterly formulaic, put people in an exotic setting and commence with whodunit in which everyone is sketchy. And yet, I had to keep watching to find out what happened.
First of all, I didn't even know it came out yet. I just watched an interview with Liev Schreiber talking about the movie too. I didn't know they dropped it. Anyway, that's when it's a good whodunit. When you cannot walk away from the story, whether it's in a book, on a TV show, or in a movie, when you just can't turn away from it. When it hooks you, even if it's doing other things wrong in the movie, that's not really, but when you find that you can't get away until you find out who did it, that's when they do a pretty good job. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love the Knives Out movies so much. I cannot wait for Wake Up Dead Man. Mm-hmm. Oh, these movies are so good. So that's when you know. So I got to go check that one out myself. All right, what's next?
Suthia says 616 Wanda had a complete story arc. I could see her continue the story of 838's Wanda.
Yes.
I'm sure 838 Wanda still has a part to play in the Multiverse saga and will have her own story and end. Just like the 2 Lokis who both had different storylines. Well, also all the basically the Avengers in 838 were killed by the other Wanda.
Yeah.
So that place is left with very few heroes suddenly.
Yeah, Multiverse.
Yeah, but that's the saga we're in. So
I would rather them just, honestly, I would rather them just say somehow Wanda survived the events at the mountain. I just would rather that. Now, however, to your point, remember the other day we were saying one of the problems with bringing back Wanda is she's way too overpowered. I mean, what do you do with her? That Wanda,
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
she
I was
didn't-
never
saying.
gets the Darkhold.
Yeah.
Never becomes that powerful, becomes a more interesting. I don't know. Maybe that could work. What
You
do
can
you think?
absolutely bring her into the fold.
Mm.
I think that works great. And then you can like do some House of M stuff. You can properly get there.
and that one's not guilty of
You
murder.
have to get her to that power level
Yep.
again, I
but
suppose.
then you can build.
Well, it solves the awkward issue of that one's not guilty of murder either.
Yep.
So, Cody Hunt Film says, man, I'm going to miss James Earl Jones. He was the narrator on the Jurassic Park special features. So iconic. One of my favorite costumes to wear around Halloween is him as King Jaffe Joffer from Coming to America. My son works. We lost a legend.
First of all, can I just I know you've probably never heard me give a call out to costumes in a movie. Him and Eddie Murphy's costumes, their royal vestiges, that costume design. By the way, if you love costume design, make sure you're watching Designing Hollywood on the John Campea YouTube channel. that costume design was always so good. He looked so regal with those massive shoulders he always had and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that always looked so good. All right, what's next?
We got Cody Hunt Films.
Oh, bring that picture back up for a second. With Mufasa over his shoulder. I love it.
And his son in the background on the employee of the month.
Employee. My son works. All right, what's next?
We got Cody Hunt Films. Got my first set of tattoos this month. One is a popcorn bucket with popcorn spilling out, a movie ticket, and a Velociraptor from Jurassic Park. Movie sleeve has begun.
I have always really admired and respected people who get like good tats. I will never have a tattoo. I will never, ever have a tattoo. The reason I will never have a tattoo is because when I was younger and I was thinking about getting a tattoo, I became very self-aware of how tastes change. I had a friend who, when he was younger, got across his entire back the Cobra symbol from G.I. Joe.
Oh.
Well, that was never going away.
Because, like, from shoulder to shoulder on his back, the big
That's
Cobra
a great
symbol.
first tat all over your back.
Great.
Really thought that one out.
So, because he loved G.I. Joe
Oh, yeah.
and loved Cobra and thought it was really cool. And hey, listen, actually, it was really cool.
Great to
But
get a Serpentor.
No, I
Here's
get a
the
hot dog on a
problem.
stick.
here's the problem. As he got older, he didn't love G.I. Joe so much anymore. And he kind of started to become self-aware, what's the word we look for when you don't
Self-conscious?
self-conscious about it, and like wouldn't go to the beach because he didn't want to take it off. And like that became that has always stuck with me. I mean, I think the only thing I could get on me is either something about Anne or something about Star Wars. Like that, because like that's the only thing that I totally know from now and for the next 40 years, I'm always still going to love.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just been always, because of that and my awareness of, and that I actually saw it with a friend in my life. Yeah, tats are so, especially if you get big ones, permanent. But I told that just makes me admire people who do get them. Do you have any tats?
No, I want to get Narsil though on me, and then a watercolor sunflower because that's my favorite flower. But my dad made me repeat Jimmy Buffett quotes growing up, and that is a tattoo is a permanent reminder of a temporary feeling. And that's
a cool phrase.
It would be drilled into me, and so it'd be Christine was a tattoo, a permanent reminder of a temporary feeling, and so that's my knee-jerk reaction a lot of times. But those are the two that I've gone. I could get that, and I'd be happy with those forever.
Anne got a couple of tats. Did you know that, Ray?
Yeah.
She's like, I really want to get this one tattoo. I'm like, I don't know, baby. I mean, but she's got this little one like on her around here that just says her family's last name, just says Aura.
Oh.
She got to honor her dad. And
That's
then she got
beautiful.
another one that was a saying that your dad would say, and I can't remember what that was, but just this little.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to read it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, this little one that was a saying that your dad used to say. And then every once in a while she comes back to you. So I'm thinking about another tattoo. I'm like, baby, don't do this to me, please. Don't do this to me. Don't do this.
Yeah,
to me.
big cobra on my back. Yeah.
Jonas Brothers.
He could have
across
changed
her
that.
back.
He could have changed that cobra into like a heart. Then he'd be the lover
Big
boy.
heart.
I know the cobra got droopy, I guess.
All right, what's next?
The King of Sweden says, it seemed like audiences had a hard time accepting a new actor play Han Solo, which played into the poor box office when they eventually reboot Indiana Jones. What do you think they should do differently in their approach to avoid a similar outcome?
The big problem, though, and this is why I always argued before the movie came out that they shouldn't even make that movie. And I say that as somebody who ended up liking Solo. I think it's a fun little movie.
I like it.
But the reason I always said it wasn't a movie they ever should have made is that you're trying to give us a different Han Solo when we literally just had Harrison Ford on screen as Han Solo, right? And now, the name of the actor who played Han Solo.
Alden Ehrenreich.
What's that? Alden Ehrenreich. That's right. I thought he did a marvelous job.
He's great.
He brought the spirit of Han Solo without trying to do a Harrison Ford impersonation. I thought he did a great job on it. I really do. But it will be different whenever they reboot Indiana Jones. Because literally, when they try to do Solo, it's like, wait, we like just had him on screen. We're not going to get another Indiana Jones movie minimum 3, 4, 5 years from now. Minimum. Everybody knows Harrison Ford is retired as the character. That's all done and good. And so I don't think that's going to be a factor. Now, casting the right person will obviously be an important thing, but I really don't think it'll have the same impact as it did with somebody playing Solo. At least I don't think so. All right, what's next?
Jared Oberfeld says, I think next time there's a presidential debate, I will skip that and watch Madam Web instead. Well, it's worthy of a rewatching.
Look, I don't like to go into politics on the show. All I would say is this. I haven't seen an ass kicking like that since Loki tried to fight the Hulk. That was an ass kicking of the highest order. And yeah. Anyway, all right. What's next?
For Trump, right?
Semio Blade Scripts. It's the Ray. Says, do you think there is a shortage of talented writers in Hollywood? Other than Craig Mazin, I'm not aware of many standout names in the writing world. Curious if that plays a part in the difficulties Disney Plus is having with their TV and project pushbacks.
No, there are so many talented writers. The problem... Okay, look, there's two different things. There are tons of very gifted, talented writers. There are two problems. Problem one is everybody thinks writing is easy.
Yep.
Everybody thinks the things they don't do that other people do must be easy to do.
It's why every writer you've ever met is successful and famous.
Yeah.
Just like voice actors. It's why we're all so famous and rich.
It is an insanely difficult thing. And you can write 20 good things and then write 3 or 4 or 5 bad things or whatever. But I mean, it happens. And then the problem is you can write a good script and then have it turned into a not good movie. There have been times that good scripts have been written and then taken and turned into bad movies. So that happens. The second problem, and I'm actually going to say 3 things. The second problem is that there is so much content being made today. So much content. When I was a child, like not a teenager, but when I was a child, there were 5 TV stations. Now there's 75 streaming networks, 40 TV stations. If you get cable, I haven't had cable in forever, but you do, there's like 155 things. Like there's so much content being written that there's so much that has to be pushed out and there's so much work being done. The third thing I would say is this. Writers have never been household names. They've never been. Just period. You say, I can think of Craig Mazin. Okay. But never when I was a kid, teenager, young adult, and now at this stage in my career, writers' names have never been household names. Who's the guy who did West Wing again?
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. So you had an Aaron Sorkin, right? That name would be recognizable. But like screenwriters of movies have never been famous names. With the odd 1%. So I would say that yes, there are incredibly amazing, great, gifted writers out there. The problem is that they're not always going to write something great. Also, they can write something great and then it gets turned into something bad the way it gets executed. Also, there's just so much content out there. There's only so many top 15% of writers to go around. And then lastly, writers have never been household names. The fact that you even know the name Craig Mazin is amazing.
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 Sorry.
Yeah, it's actually.
Of course,
good.
Ray had to say that.
Why would you apologize? That was good. Own it.
All right, what's next?
Springfield Paw Patrol. What's up, guys? Before we enter Oscar season, I'd love to know what everyone's pick for Best Picture is so far. If you think that an upcoming film will top it, gracias, Brown Filthy.
Dune 2.
Yeah, yours is Dune 2.
It's as a foregone conclusion as Shogun. But that's only out of the things I've seen so far. There's a lot of big titles coming out between now and the end of the year. Now, I'll be surprised if something tops Dune 2, but it's absolutely possible. So, and that's the other thing, Chris, like we're only at the start of Oscar season, right?
Yeah.
So like all the real heavy contenders for Best Picture have not come out yet. They're going to come out in the next couple of months. So yeah, as of right now, I would say Dune 2, but
we
that
could be
could
blown
change.
away by something.
Yeah, there's a lot of things coming. So I don't know. Is there anything particularly on your radar that you're really looking forward to right now?
Like awards season wise?
Yeah.
No. I'm mostly here for Sonic.
Yes.
You know,
I'm here for Sonic and Christmas movies.
I'm kind of mostly here for Moana 2 right now.
Oh my God. That's all Logan is excited
And
about.
Sonic.
Yeah.
And like, there's like, so those types of things. So, Saturday night.
That does look really interesting. I'm very excited
Ooh,
about that.
ooh. The Conclave
Ooh,
with
I
Rafe
forgot about that.
Fiennes
Yeah.
and Jonathan Lithgow.
That'll be excellent.
They showed it. I think they put the trailer's out now, but they showed us a preview for it at CinemaCon. And it was like,
Okay.
because I've always said after Gary Oldman won his award for, what was it called? Finest Hour?
Yes.
Where
Darkest
he played
Hour.
Churchill?
Darkest Hour?
Yeah.
Darkest
Darkest
Hour.
Hour.
That's it. Where he played Churchill. Once he won his Academy Award, I said, okay, time for changing of the guard. The new, I've been saying this for years, best actor on the planet that does not have an Academy Award is Ralph Fiennes. Voldemort himself. He's the greatest actor in the world who doesn't have an Academy Award. Everybody's saying that may change now.
That's
The
very
people who have
exciting.
been seeing it are saying this might be his year. Now, again, I haven't seen it myself yet, but so Conclave is a big one. I don't think some people in the live chat are saying Gladiator 2. I just don't believe in Ridley Scott anymore.
I don't have the faith there.
Yeah. I mean, I hope this movie changes my mind, but right now I just don't have the belief in Ridley Scott, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
Matan says, while the news about Destin Daniel Cretton is good, I wish that he would make a more indie film outside of the Marvel factory. Too many directors have been wasted, trapped in the Marvel machine for too long. Where are their one for me films?
I don't know if you would call being a part of the biggest movie franchise in the history of the industry that more people around the world love and celebrate as being trapped. Man, I would love to be trapped in that.
Did you hear about Destin? He's trapped. He can't do anything else with his life. It's over.
Yeah, and it's also about, listen, when you say one for me, what if Spider-Man 4 is the one for me for him? Who's to say this isn't what he loves doing most? That these are the films he wants to do? Like, there is a comment, I think George Clooney might have been the one to coin it. I could be wrong about that, who said, like, I make one movie for them, one for me, which is his kind of way of saying I make a more popular kind of movie, a more marketable kind of movie, but then I make a story I really want to tell. And I respect that. That's great. But what if the movies Destin is making is because these are the movies he wants to make? He loves telling these stories. I mean, if you've never seen him talk about making Shang-Chi, you want to see a guy who loves what he does, go watch some interviews with Destin talking about making Shang-Chi.
They also just don't do many more than like two. I mean, John Watts, who did the Spider-Man movies, but now he's doing Wolves.
Yeah.
So that's his one for him, or whatever.
All right, what's next?
Jeffi Master says, back in 77, I was 5 and had the life-changing experience of seeing Star Wars. This past Sunday, my local theater let me see it on the big screen for only the second time in my life. One day later, James Earl Jones died, gutted in the extreme.
I might not be remembering this right, but speaking of Rogue One, I was visiting Canada, seeing my family. And every time I go to Canada, I take my family out to go see the movies. And we went to go see Rogue One. And I think it was the day after that. It was either the day before or the day after. Right now, I'm remembering it as the day after. Anyway,
It was that day.
it was that day.
Yeah, we were getting texts during the movie. So.
That's right. That we found out Carrie Fisher died. I mean, and that was so surreal. The day that we took my family to go see that, and that was there. So that's really, really kind of weird that you had that kind of experience too. All right, what's next?
Matan just follows up. I'll add that Disney should use Searchlight more and have Marvel directors direct a more personal film to showcase that they're real directors. They are real directors. Unlike the Russos with Cherry and Red Notice, use the blockbusters to fund the artistic films.
What is real director?
Yeah,
mean?
what does that mean? Like, you're not a real director if you make a big movie?
I mean, I will say, Matan, for someone who seems to loathe comic book films. I would think you should be promoting these auteur films, these indie films that I love too,
Yeah.
as opposed to just taking shots at movies you don't like.
I gotta say, that's one of the most ignorant things I've heard. Like, if you direct these things, you're not. I think that's a dumb comment.
Especially because most directors too, we've talked about this before on the show as well, there's a trajectory of doing music videos and commercials and all these other things. So if you do that kind of work, are you not a real director? It's the same thing that comes up in acting all the time of, oh, well, you're a commercial actor. Oh, you're a voice actor. What's that second part of the word? Is it actor? That means I'm still an actor.
Yeah.
And there's, I always get a little weird when people police what a job should be.
Yeah, right.
Especially jobs that they don't know how to do.
Yeah, and especially ones that are so nebulous, like creative jobs.
It's also just not that easy to be like, oh, well, they did this for Disney, so now Disney can plug them into a Searchlight film. There's so many thousands of moving parts on a film getting written,
Yeah.
Accepted, the rights purchased, distributed. Even before that, like getting the cast and the director and all this, like you can't just be like, you're going to do Spider-Man
right.
and then you're going to do something for Searchlight. It
Let's
doesn't
move
work
on
that
from
way.
this because this is ridiculous. I feel my brain cells dying just having to address it.
Very let down by A24's new
Who is
horror.
it?
Pessimist Prime.
Okay.
Very let down by A24's new horror starring Brandy, The Front Room. Not joking. The whole second half of the film is the old lady pooping and peeing herself on purpose. No resolution to plot. Abandon all good ideas. Don't waste your time. It has gotten kind of panned. The Front Room.
I'm going to be honest. I don't even know about it.
Yeah, I saw it.
How did A24 slip? I didn't. What?
I know. I saw it on AMC, like, movies coming soon. And then I saw, because they have the trailer on there too, and it's A24. And I'm like, I'm not digging this trailer. And then I looked up reviews later on. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to see this one.
Huh. Okay. But is it weird to say now I'm morbidly curious?
Right.
Now I'm kind of curious about it. All right. What's next?
Adam A says, have you seen the NYT deep dive on the Iger Chapek disaster, the Palace coup? I didn't know it was called that. What did you think? It's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it.
No, I'm familiar with it. I've read some stuff about the article, but I haven't had a chance to. I mean, I'm not going to go into all of it. It's been a crazy 48 hours, but no, I haven't read it yet. All right, what's next?
Forbidden. Yep. Us Americans Got Reboot 2 would air right next to Dragon Ball here. Chris knows I heard and saw a bit of the newest reboot, but looks terrible.
It's
so bad.
It really was a show. Reboot was really a show that was ahead of its time. And I don't mean like 30 years ahead of its time, but I mean, it almost feels like, I wonder if that show could have gotten more success and gotten more of an established place in pop culture if it even came out 5 years later. It was, I just feel like the audience wasn't quite ready for it, but it was fun. I
remember-
here it was part of the Toonami block. So that was must see TV. in
You and
like
I have
99.
this is the difference between me being a Zennial and you being a millennial. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm ahead on age. So when I was watching that, I'm like, I was at a point in my life where I'm just like, this is really cool that this is like CGI, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem there yet. And I always tuned out.
That's
Whereas on John's end, he was old enough that it was like, and he loved CGI and stuff like that. So it was like, that was probably so innovative for you. You're like,
it was so different.
Yeah.
It was so new at the time.
Loved it.
All right, what's next?
Dr. Stinky, seeing you guys mention tattoos, I have to mention I'm getting Jinx from Arcane on my left arm and VI on the other side. I don't know if I'll regret it when I'm 40, but we shall see, because I'm in love with Arcane. Hope all is well.
First of all, I love Arcane. When Ann and I go to like conventions or whatever, one of our favorite cosplays to see is when people do really good Jinx cosplay. So yeah, I cannot wait for that show to come back. It's one of my favorite animated shows. You know, it might be my favorite animated show ever. I think I think it's my favorite animated show ever. And it's only had one season. As much as I love Blue Eye Samurai, that totally deserved to win the Emmy for Best Animated Series. I think Arcane is better. I seriously, I think it's the best one I've ever seen. I cannot wait for season 2. All right, what's next?
Move on to members. Joel Checky says, I watched Young Woman on the Sea. Really enjoyed it. Beautiful movie, inspiring and incredible what she accomplished against great odds. I think Ray watched it, but has anyone else definitely recommend? I have not gotten to it yet.
I
I
haven't.
still haven't seen it yet, even though I really like Daisy Ridley and I loved
Yeah.
the previews for it that we saw. Ray, you did see it,
Yeah.
and
Good.
you were really excited about it.
Yeah, I
you
wanted
ended,
to-
you ended up liking it, right?
I wanted to watch it in the theaters, but there was no one around that was playing it, so I just kept waiting for. Oh my gosh! I believe Apple TV September 10th, that was yesterday, started streaming Robot Dreams.
Really?
Oh, nice.
I believe I've
'Cause
been,
I wanted
I've been
to see
looking out
that.
for that, so I want to watch that after I get home,
Yeah.
when I get home today. So
Cool.
All right, what's next?
Joe says, I just saw the movie Afraid last night, and not only is it not a horror movie, it's not a good one at that. At just 84 minutes, it felt like a drag to get through since nothing really happens in the first half. And although I agree that AI is a danger to society, the filmmakers didn't tell as effective a story as they could have.
I've even totally forgot it came out.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
heard nobody talk
Just
about
not
this
feeling
film.
it.
Yeah. Ooh, thank you for seeing it for the rest of us. All right, what's next?
All right. Temple DC says, John, does Anne have a Halloween costume selected yet? If not, here's an idea. She should be Moana and Ray as Maui. Come on, Ray. You know you want to.
oh yeah, we've been suggested that before.
Who's John gonna be then? Hey, hey,
The chicken?
give me that chicken.
That's too easy.
Here's the thing you got to understand about Anne. There is no costume. There is costumes.
Yeah.
She plans out the 8 days or 9 days surrounding Halloween. Which costume will I wear that day and that day? And she literally starts planning her costumes around June. And she starts ordering pieces and all that kind of stuff. She Anne actually
That was a
has
great
her
impression of Anne right there.
she has her own she's got an Instagram account just for her cosplay. If you want, it's called Anne Cosplays.
Oh, yeah, don't give that to me.
What?
No one will. Nah, don't give it that to me.
Oh, and it's like she puts together these great costumes and all that kind of stuff. So yes, she's got several Halloween costumes already planned out. None of them are Moana. Although it's funny because whenever we watch Moana, we always think that's just Anne. Moana is Anne, but none of them are Moana this year. All right, what's next?
Michael says, can we expect Destin Daniel to direct this new Spider-Man trilogy, or should we just wait and take things one movie at a time?
No one said there's a new trilogy.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear about that. Nobody said there's a new trilogy. I don't suspect that he would, let's say he does Spider-Man 4. I don't suspect he'll stay on for 2 or 3 more. There are other projects he wants to do. Like I always mispronounce it, Naruto? What's that? Naruto. This Naruto thing that people are excited about. He's also, I mean, as of right now, he's still technically officially on to do Shang-Chi 2. So he's got a lot of other things. So I doubt he'll do 3 Spider-Man films in a row. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying I doubt it. All right, 2 more. What's next?
Okay, we got Joe Howland who says, hey, John and crew, how's your day going? My question is, will Paramount keep the Star Trek property or sell it off? And what happens to Strange New Worlds? It's the best Star Trek show on today. Thanks, Bring on the Filthy.
I think honestly, Strange New Worlds is the best Star Trek series since Star Trek: The Next Generation. I really think it's that good. I love what they've done with that show. I cannot see Paramount ever selling Star Trek. I mean, it's their crown jewel franchise. So, and they're having success with it. So I don't see them selling it off. I'm not going to say ever because a lot can change in the business every 3 to 4 years, but I don't think they have any plans to sell it off at this point. If anything, I could see Paramount shutting down Paramount Plus. I can see that. And then starting to take as a company more of a Sony approach, which is we won't be in the arms race as a streaming company. We'll be the arms dealers creating the content that other streamers will bid for. It's worked well for Sony so far. And I suspect that. So I'll see Paramount continuing to make Star Trek, but then instead of having it like a Paramount Plus, say Netflix, buys the rights to air Strange New Worlds on its network, and maybe Apple TV Plus will license Below Decks or Lower Decks to have on their thing. So I could see that happening maybe in the next few years. All right, last question of the day.
All right. Uptumbra says, hey, John, have you read the Darth Plagueis novel? Just finished the audiobook. It was incredible. Highly recommend anyone who loves Star Wars and a great story.
That's one I did not read. I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, no. I read like a 5-page basic synopsis of the story, but I never did read the book.
Oh.
Did you?
No.
Okay.
Star Wars is one of those things where I know the movies and then some video games and some comics. I never read the novelizations except for when my friend made me read the Ahsoka book. Logan's really into them though, so he gets all like G-canon and all those other things too that I'll be like.
I mean, I would say one of my favorites was Tarkin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking
Tarkin
of-
was such a good one. I think the best one though was Lords of the Sith. It's,
Where they're kind of trapped together, they're
yes,
stranded.
where Vader and the Emperor are on a shuttle that goes down on the Twi'lek homeworld, and rebels are hunting them, and they got to survive the natural wilderness there. And it's the two of them. It's
Ooh.
basically a survival thriller with the Emperor and Vader,
Okay.
and it's really
And
good.
then they meet Gollum.
And then they meet
Gollum?
Gollum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd read it then.
Yeah.
As long as they describe grass for like 6 paragraphs,
Yeah.
I'm in.
And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and make this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
Get 'em out!
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys later.
Chris Carr.
I'll be back Friday.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.